Wisdom, that's the test. Which rival wisdom team is best? 52 teams of 8 antique rival wisdoms that have passed the test of time to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. Team 2 believe and build. Quote definitions, biographical context, and synergy analysis 2. Replace hate with motivational education that may guide a life. Quote 2.1. Believe you can and you're halfway there. Theodore Roosevelt, 1858 to 1919. Quote definition. Genuine belief in one's own capability to accomplish something, not wishful thinking, but the honest conviction that the task is within reach, does not guarantee the outcome, but reliably produces half of what the outcome requires. The attempt, the persistence, the recovery from setback, and the sustained engagement that disbelief systematically prevents. Belief is literally half the work, because it is what makes all other work possible. Quote application. The mission of making America wiser and kinder requires this belief at every level, in the people carrying the mission, in the communities being served, in the wisdom that the mission offers. The community that does not believe it can become genuinely kinder will not. The person who does not believe genuine wisdom can change their life will not let it. Belief is the first half, and without it the second half has nothing to work with. Theodore Roosevelt appears in Team 29 as well, where speak softly and carry a big stick principle anchored the style layer. Born in 1858 in New York City, a sickly and asthmatic child who deliberately built himself into one of the most physically vigorous presidents in American history, Roosevelt's life was a biographical embodiment of the principle he articulated. He believed he could overcome his physical limitations, could reform the civil service, could bust the trusts, could establish the national parks, could win the Nobel Peace Prize. And that belief consistently produced a half of the work that made the other half possible. He was not always right, but the belief was never the reason he failed. This quote specifically encourages individuals to 1. Cultivate genuine belief in the mission's possibility, not naive optimism, but the honest conviction that wisdom genuinely can replace hatred, that communities genuinely can become kinder as the necessary first half of the work that produces it. 2. Apply Roosevelt's halfway principle to the people the mission serves. Helping someone genuinely believe they can become wiser and kinder is already half the work of their becoming so. 3. Distinguish genuine belief from performed confidence. The actual conviction that makes the attempt and sustain the effort is the half that matters, while performance of confidence without genuine belief produces nothing genuine.
Quote 2.2. Good, better, best. Never let it rest, till your good is better and your better is best. St. Jerome, 347 to 420 AD. Quote definition. The commitment to continuous improvement, never accepting any current level of performance as the final standard, establishes the permanent operating mode of genuine excellence. Good is the starting point, not the destination. Better is the direction, not the arrival. Best is the moving target that continuous improvement pursues without rest. Quote application. St. Jerome's relentless standard appears in both Team 1 and Team 2, anchoring both the opening of the collection and Team 2's Believe and Build framework. Its presence in two teams reflects its foundational quality. The belief that Roosevelt places at the halfway point must be matched by the relentless improvement standard that Jerome prescribes. Belief without the improvement discipline produces comfortable conviction. Improvement without belief produces exhausting effort. Together they build. St. Jerome, Eusebius Sophronius Hieronymus, was born around 347 AD in Stridon and became the most learned biblical scholar of the Western Church, producing the Vulgate Latin Bible that remained the standard text of Western Christianity for over 1,000 years. His presence in both Team 1 and Team 2 is the collection's way of marking the good, better, best principle as the foundational continuous thread running through the entire project, from the very first team through the second, and implicitly through all 52. The relentless improvement that never rests is not the principle of one team, but the operating standard of the entire collection. This quote specifically encourages individuals to 1. Treat the good, better, best standard as the operating rhythm of the Believe and Build life. Belief provides the energy, The relentless standard directs what the energy builds. 2. Apply the never let it rest discipline specifically to what belief has begun. The believed-in project that rests too comfortably on its good is the project whose better never arrives and whose best is never approached. 3. Recognize the paired message of Teams 1 and 2. Team 1 establishes that we never stop. Team 2 establishes that we believe we can continue, and Jerome's anchor in both teams is the thread connecting them.
Quote 2.3. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Frederick Douglass, 1818 to 1895. Quote definition. The investment in genuine formation, the building of genuine strength, wisdom, and character in the young, before the damage of neglect, hatred, and deprivation has been done, is incomparably more efficient and more effective than the rehabilitation of those in whom that damage has already fully formed. Building strong is always easier than repairing broken. This is not cynicism, but the most compassionate available case for genuine prevention. Quote application. The mission's wisdom education for young people, the workbooks, the quotes, the wisdom principles introduced before hatred has fully formed, is Douglass's easier building in practice. Every child reached with genuine wisdom education before prejudice has entrenched is a preventive investment that costs a fraction of what the repair of entrenched hatred requires. Build strong children. It is always the better investment. Frederick Douglass was born into slavery around 1818 in Talbot County, Maryland, escaped to the North in 1838, and became the most powerful abolitionist voice in American history. His narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, is one of the greatest American autobiographies. He appears in Team 10 as well, where his observation about power conceding nothing without demand anchored the transcendence framework. His observation about building strong children rather than repairing broken men came from a man who had himself been a broken man in the making, enslaved, brutalized, systematically denied the education and dignity that building strong children requires, and who had prepared himself through extraordinary will and the access to reading that a Maryland mistress briefly provided before her husband stopped it. He understood from inside the experience what breaking cost and what building prevented. This quote specifically encourages individuals to 1. Prioritize the early investment in genuine wisdom education for the young, for the not yet entrenched, for those whose patterns of thought are still genuinely formable, as the more efficient and more compassionate available investment. 2. Apply Douglass's easier building principle to the mission's prioritization. Reach young people and early communities before hatred has formed, because the building is always more efficient than the repair. 3. Honor the reality that repair is still worth doing. Broken men deserve and can receive wisdom's healing, while holding Douglass's honest assessment that building was always easier, which is the case for prevention without being the case against rehabilitation.
Quote 2.4. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Benjamin Franklin, 1706 to 1790. Quote definition. Among all available forms of investment, financial, social, physical, knowledge produces the highest return because it compounds most completely. Knowledge enables better decisions, which produce better outcomes, which create the conditions for more knowledge, which enables still better decisions. The interest is perpetual and self-reinforcing in the way that financial interest only approximates. Knowledge investment is the highest return available. Quote application. The wisdom education that these 52 teams provide is exactly the investment Franklin describes. An investment in knowledge that pays interest not once, but continuously, as each wisdom principle absorbed enables better thinking, which enables better action, which creates better communities, which make more wisdom available. Every workbook is a compound interest investment in the human capital that produces everything else the mission is building toward. Benjamin Franklin appears throughout these 52 teams. Born in 1706 in Boston, largely self-educated through voracious reading and relentless self-improvement, Franklin was the living demonstration of his own principle. The investment in knowledge that began in his father's tallow chandler shop and the Boston Public Library compounded across decades into the printer, journalist, scientist, inventor, diplomat, and statesman who became the most famous American of his era. He had calculated, from direct personal experience, that no other investment he had made, commercial social, financial, had paid the interest that a sustained investment in knowledge had produced. This quote specifically encourages individuals to 1. Treat every engagement with genuine wisdom. Every workbook completed, every principle genuinely absorbed, every honest community encounter, as a compound interest investment that pays more the longer it is held and the more it is built upon. 2. Apply Franklin's best interest standard to the mission's resource allocation. The investment in genuine wisdom education produces higher returns than almost any other available allocation because it compounds in the way financial returns only approximate. 3. Recognize the mission itself as Franklin's living proof. The 2,500 years of human wisdom in these 52 teams is accumulated knowledge investment compounding across millennia, producing an interest that anyone who genuinely receives it can spend for the rest of their life.
Quote 2.5. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Emma Lazarus, 1849 to 1887. Quote definition. The invitation extended to the exhausted, the destitute, the crowded together, the freedom-longing, the specific human beings who most need genuine welcome, is the statement of what a genuinely inclusive community actually offers. The Statue of Liberty does not invite the already successful and the already free. It specifically welcomes those whom other communities have not made room for. Genuine inclusion begins with the specific invitation to the specifically excluded. Quote application. The mission of making America wiser and kinder extends exactly this invitation, not to the comfortable and the already convinced but to the tired, the poor in wisdom, the huddled together in tribal certainty, those yearning to breathe the free air of genuine human dignity. The mission's welcome is specifically for those who most need what it offers, which is what genuine inclusion looks like in practice. Emma Lazarus was born in 1849 in New York City into a wealthy Sephardic Jewish family, educated privately, and became a poet and essayist whose work was largely devoted to the defense of oppressed people, particularly Jewish immigrants fleeing persecution in Eastern Europe. Her sonnet, The New Colossus, written in 1883 to raise funds for the Statue of Liberty's pedestal, was placed on a plaque inside the pedestal in 1903, 16 years after her death at 38. The poem reframed the statue from a symbol of Franco-American friendship into the welcoming mother of exiles that it has represented ever since. Her words so completely reshaped what the monument meant that most Americans do not know the statue's original symbolic intention. She died not knowing her words had been placed on the pedestal, or would become perhaps the most widely known American poem. This quote specifically encourages individuals to 1. Extend the mission's specific welcome to the specifically excluded, the tired, the poor in wisdom, those crowded into the small space of inherited hatred who are yearning for something genuinely better, as the operational definition of genuine inclusive community. 2. Apply Lazarus's invitation as the standing description of the mission's target audience. Not the already wise and the already kind, but those who most need what genuine wisdom education offers. 3. Recognize that genuine inclusion requires the specific invitation. Not the generic welcome, but the particular reaching toward the particular people who most need to be reached and least expect to be invited.
Quote 2.6. Fortune favors the audacious. Desiderius Erasmus 1466 to 1536. Quote definition. Fortune, favorable outcome, opportunity, and the circumstance that enables achievement, tends to align with those who act boldly and audaciously rather than those who wait cautiously for guaranteed conditions. The audacious person creates the conditions in which fortune can operate. The cautious person waits for conditions that fortune was waiting on their audacity to provide. Bold action and favorable outcome are genuinely correlated. Quote application. Building what the mission is building, a culture genuinely wiser and kinder than the current one, is an audacious undertaking that requires the bold action from which fortune is most reliably drawn. The cautious, incrementally safe approach to cultural transformation produces incremental results. The audacious claim that wisdom genuinely can replace hatred, stated plainly and pursued boldly, is what attracts the fortune that makes the claim eventually true. Desiderius Erasmus appears in teams 43, 44, and 49 as well. Born around 1466 in Rotterdam and becoming the most celebrated humanist scholar of the Northern Renaissance, Erasmus was himself a man of considerable audacity. His praise of folly satirized both church corruption and secular foolishness at a time when such satire was genuinely dangerous. His edition of the Greek New Testament challenged the Vulgate's textual authority at a time when that challenge was heretical. He pursued these audacious intellectual projects with the scholarship and wit that made them hard to prosecute and impossible to ignore. Fortune favored him with the influence that more cautious scholars of greater safety never achieved. He understood Fortune's alignment with audacity from direct personal experience of what audacity enabled. This quote specifically encourages individuals to 1. Act with the audacity that the mission scale requires, stating plainly and pursuing boldly the claim that wisdom genuinely replaces hatred, rather than the cautious incrementalism that produces nothing that Fortune has any reason to favor. 2. Apply Erasmus's Fortune audacity correlation to the mission's community outreach. Reach boldly for communities that seem beyond reach, make connections that seem unlikely, attempt engagements that seem presumptuous, because Fortune favors exactly this. 3. Recognize the believe and build sequence. Roosevelt's belief provides the starting energy. Erasmus's audacity is how that energy is deployed in the world where Fortune operates. Together they build what caution would never attempt.
Quote 2.7. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Marcus Aurelius 121 to 180 AD. Quote definition. The two most fundamental practical disciplines of ethical living are compressed into two parallel prohibitions. Do not act on what you know to be wrong. Do not speak what you know to be untrue. Both are framed as negatives rather than positives. Not do right, and speak truth, but do not do the wrong, and do not say the false, which is the Stoic philosopher emperor's practical recognition that the more immediately available discipline is the avoidance of the clear wrong rather than the achievement of the abstract ideal. Quote application. Building genuinely requires the integrity Marcus Aurelius prescribes. The mission that builds on wrong action and false speech builds on sand. The community trust and genuine wisdom that the mission is constructing cannot be built from materials that are not right and not true. Every piece of wisdom content must pass the not false test. Every community engagement must pass the not wrong test. These are the minimum conditions of building that lasts. Marcus Aurelius appears in Teams 16 and 40 as well, where his principles about acting wisely and treating every act as if it were the last anchored those frameworks. Born in 121 AD in Rome, educated by the finest tutors available including the Stoic philosopher Epictetus's student Rusticus, and serving as Roman emperor from 161 to 180 while spending much of his reign on military campaign, Marcus Aurelius wrote the Meditations, private notes to himself, never intended for publication, as the sustained attempt to hold himself to exactly the standard he articulates here. He was not always successful. He made decisions that were not right and said things that were not fully true. But the discipline of the standard, the daily return to the not wrong/not false test, was the practice that produced the character the Meditations record, imperfect but genuinely striving. This quote specifically encourages individuals to 1. Apply the two prohibitions as the daily operating minimum. Before every significant action, the not wrong check. Before every significant statement, the not false check. Not the aspiration to perfection but the practice of the minimum that genuine integrity requires. 2. Use Marcus Aurelius's negative framing as the practically useful form. Do right is too abstract to guide in the moment. Do not do the wrong is specific enough to apply when the moment of choice is actually present. 3. Apply the dual standard to the mission's building. The community trust being built rests entirely on the accumulated not wrong actions and not false statements that constitute the only foundation on which genuine trust is actually built.
Quote 2.8. The mind is everything. What you think you become. Buddha c. 563 to 483 BC. Quote definition. The thoughts that habitually occupy the mind are not merely the accompaniments of what a person is, but its primary cause. What is thought consistently, with genuine belief and genuine attention, shapes what the person becomes over time, with the reliability of a mold shaping what is poured into it. Mind is not an instrument of the self, but its primary constituent. What the mind habitually is, the self eventually becomes. Quote application. Team 2 closes with the deepest available statement of the believe and build principle. The mind is everything, and what it thinks it becomes. This is why belief is Roosevelt's halfway point, why the knowledge Franklin invests in pays the best interest, why Marcus Aurelius's disciplines of thought and speech shape the character that thought and speech constitute. The mission is ultimately a project of transforming minds, because what communities think they become, and what they become is what America is. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, appears in Teams 7, 15, and 40 as well. Born around 563 BC in Lumbini, in present-day Nepal, raised as a prince, and achieving enlightenment after years of practice, the Buddha spent 45 years teaching the Dharma, the path from suffering to liberation, across the Ganges plain. His observation that the mind is everything, and what you think you become is among the most frequently cited teachings attributed to him, reflecting the central Buddhist insight that mental states are not passive responses to circumstances, but active shapers of the reality the mind inhabits. The thought of hatred makes hatred more real. The thought of compassion makes compassion more real. This is not mystical but psychological, and the mission's wisdom education is built on exactly this mechanism. Change the thought, change what the person and the community become. This quote specifically encourages individuals to 1. Take thought seriously as causes rather than merely as effects. What is habitually thought with genuine belief and genuine attention is shaping what the person and the community is becoming, for better or worse. 2. Apply Buddha's mind is everything principle to the mission's deepest purpose. Wisdom education is the work of introducing better thoughts about human dignity, about what hatred costs, about what genuine community makes possible, because what communities think they become. 3. Close Team 2 with the complete statement of the Believe and Build arc. Roosevelt's belief is where it starts. Jerome's relentless standard is how it develops. Douglas's easier building is where it is most efficiently invested. Franklin's knowledge pays the compounding interest. Lazarus welcomes everyone who needs it. Erasmus deploys it audaciously. Marcus Aurelius keeps it honest. And Buddha closes by naming the deepest truth. The mind is everything, what you think you become. And the mission exists to change what communities think.
How they work together as a unified philosophy. The Believe and Build framework. Foundation layer. Belief as the first half and the relentless standard. Quotes 1, 2. Roosevelt. Establish belief as the necessary first half of all genuine building. Not the whole work, but the condition without which the second half has nothing to work with. Jerome. Provide the standard that belief must be aimed at good, better, best. Never at rest. Ensuring that the belief is directed toward relentless improvement rather than comfortable arrival at good enough. Together, the energy and the standard of genuine building. Roosevelt's belief is the first half that makes all other work possible. Without it, the attempt is never made. The persistence never sustains. The recovery from setback never happens. Jerome's relentless standard is what the belief is directed toward. Not the comfortable good, but the continuously improving better and the perpetually approached best. Believe you can, never let it rest. Investment layer. Building children and knowledge paying interest. Quotes 3, 4. Douglas. Apply belief's energy to its most efficient available investment. Building strong children is easier than repairing broken men. Making the early investment in genuine formation the most rational expression of the belief that improvement is possible. Franklin. Establish the mechanism of compounding return. Knowledge pays the best interest, making the investment in genuine wisdom education the highest return available application of the belief and build energy. Together, the priority and the mechanism of the best available building investment. Douglas identifies where the building is most efficient. Early, formative, preventive rather than rehabilitative. Franklin identifies what builds most efficiently when that priority is followed. Knowledge, which compounds in the way that financial returns only approximate. Build early, build with knowledge, watch the interest compound. Inclusion layer. Welcoming the specifically excluded and acting audaciously. Quotes 5, 6. Lazarus. Establish the genuine inclusivity of the Believe and Build mission, specifically welcoming the tired, the poor, the yearning as the operational definition of what building for everyone actually requires. Erasmus. Provide the boldness that genuine inclusive building requires. Fortune favors the audacious. Ensuring that the welcome extended is the bold welcome that reaches those who least expect to be reached. Together, the scope and the boldness of genuine inclusive building. Lazarus names who genuine building is for. Not the already comfortable, but the specifically excluded who most need genuine welcome. Erasmus names how genuine building reaches them. Audaciously, boldly, with the fortune attracting confidence that cautious, safe, incremental approaches never generate. Welcome the tired, reach them boldly. Integrity layer. The not wrong, not false disciplines and mind as everything, quote 7, 8. Marcus Aurelius. Provide the ethical foundation that genuine building requires. If not right, don't do it. If not true, don't say it. Ensuring that what is built on the only materials that genuine trust and genuine wisdom can be made from. Buddha. Close the framework with the deepest available principle. The mind is everything, what you think you become, making the entire Believe and Build project a project of changing what minds habitually think, which is changing what people and communities become. Together. The integrity and the deepest purpose of genuine building. Marcus Aurelius's dual discipline, not wrong action, not false speech, is the minimum integrity standard that ensures what is built on genuine materials rather than the simulacra that dishonesty produces. Buddha's mind is everything is the deepest reason the building matters. What communities habitually think they become, which is why building better thoughts, through wisdom education, through genuine community, through the entire mission, is the most fundamental available building project.
Free Easy Extra Advantage Math, Spelling and Reading Workbooks you can download for free at stop2think.com or buy at educationstopshate.com. Free Easy Math Wisdom Workbooks with octo repetition to grow math self-confidence. You'll get plenty of repetitive practice of age ranges and averages of our 52 teams of 8 quote authors. Free Easy Alpha Cipher-coded puzzles teach letters, numbers, and phrases using antique wisdoms that encourage and educate. Can you decode this cipher quote of encouragement using either our learning to spell or just for fun instructions? And since time is money, practice reading faster with 52 teams of antique rival wisdoms that have passed the test of time to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. We offer printed versions and timed videos with background music. Sign up for free weekly emails of 52 teams of antique rival wisdom workbooks with easy math, spelling, and reading practice. And, if you'd like to get paid for sharing our wearable wisdoms, keep this in mind. Everyone I know wears a shirt, and most of us change them daily, so change your shirt and change the world. Social equalities are blatantly subliminal antique positive wisdoms repetitively shared without saying a word. This applies to all our wearable shareable wisdoms. Like pretty witty baby onesies and baby tees that you and others will see and read multiple times a day. The same is true with pretty witty kids, but they'll also share these wisdoms with anyone that can read at daycare or school. Youthful truths let your kids gain confidence sharing antique wisdoms with their friends. Imagine them sharing words of wisdom with classmates and teachers. I think tees I wear is a super easy way to share words of wisdom that have passed the test of time. Our social equalities help make us all wiser and kinder with blatantly subliminal messages promoting a more fair and equal opportunity society for all. And don't forget our giftwisdoms.com for birthdays and holidays that makes it easy to share the wisdom with clothing, coffee mugs, and magnets. So do the future a favor by encouraging, educating, and entertaining with words of wisdom that have passed the test of time to make us all wiser and kinder. With wearable wisdoms to fit babies, kids, and adults. You can clothe the whole family, city, or state. Join the 52 of 8 today.